Tulsi, come on, man. Be cool. Now, having spent 20 years in the military, there's one thing that you basically understand, that you're allowed to protest on certain things, but you're not allowed to call out in uniform and even out of uniform. You're not allowed to call out elected officials, especially the commander in chief, which happens to be President Donald Trump. But Iran has gotten a little freaky this past weekend, and word is that they launched their attack on the Saudi oil fields from Iranian airspace. Whether that's true or not, that's not the story. The story here from Breitbart. Tulsi Gabbard to Trump: "We are not your prostitutes. You're not our pimp." Now, Tulsi Gabbard, by the way, is a major in the U.S. Army Reserve in Hawaii. She has served her country distinctively, if you will, with distinction. And I think Afghanistan twice. But let's read this story here, because this is interesting, because she's come out and said this, even though she's still in the Army Reserve, even though she is a representative. So I've read the story already, but you'll see what I'm getting at here. It says Tulsi Gabbard launched a profane attack on the president, Donald Trump's foreign policy, on Monday evening, denouncing the idea of defending Saudi Arabia. Quote, "We are not your prostitutes. You are not our pimp." Understand that a lot of the oil comes out of the Middle East, especially Saudi Arabia. So if you don't protect it, much as back in the early 90s when if you just didn't protect Kuwait, Iraq would have just kept moving into Saudi Arabia. Now you probably would you probably posit the theory that, oh, what's the big bad idea? It's still a bad idea. Gabbard was responding to President Trump's statements about potential U.S. response to a recent attack by Houthi rebels on oil fields in Saudi Arabia that threatened global oil supplies and security of a key American ally. Therein lies the thing. Threatened global oil supplies. Until we come up with, I don't know, some sort of technology where we don't need oil to run your vehicles and boats and airplanes, etc., then you're going to have to stick with this for a while. In a video released on Twitter, Gabbard declared, oh my God, should I read all this? Yeah, I might as well. "Yesterday, President Trump offered to place our military, my brothers and sisters, in uniform under the command of Prince Mohammed bin Salman, dictator of the Islamist Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Trump said, 'We are locked and loaded, but we are waiting to hear from the kingdom as to who they believe was the cause of this attack and under what terms would proceed. Mr. President, as you know, I have never engaged in hateful rhetoric against you. But,' here comes the but, 'or your family, and I never will. But you're offering our military assets to the dictator of Saudi Arabia to use as he sees fit is a betrayal of my brothers and sisters in uniform who are ready to give their lives for our country, not for the Islamist dictator of Saudi Arabia.'" Again, the president says, hey, you're going to attack Iraq, going to attack Iran. You're on the hook for following the president's orders and the officers and non-commissioned officers appointed over you. That's just the way it is. For you to think that you can pimp out our proud servicemen and women to the Prince of Saudi Arabia is disgraceful, and it once again shows that you are unfit to serve as Commander-in-Chief. Oh. Now, again, she is still running for president, sort of. But I don't think she'll be making lieutenant colonel after this statement. Her OER, her officer evaluation record, which you get one every year and sometimes in between, is going to be less than stellar after this. She will not hit. She'll maybe get center mass. She will not be. It's a long story how to explain how this works, but this is just making statements like this. She might have to resign her commission just because of this. But again, she has a dual role. She is a representative in Hawaii, and a U.S. military field grade officer, by the way. That's what a major is a field grade officer. Man. As a member of Congress and as a soldier, there you go, I and all of our brothers and sisters in uniform have taken an oath to protect and defend the American people and the Constitution of the United States of America. Therein lies the issue. If the president, who's the commander-in-chief, says you go to war, you go to war. That's just the way it goes. There's nothing in our Constitution that gives you the power to go to war without the express written consent of Congress. Right. But to speak of giving you the power to offer a military to a foreign power like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to use as they wish, President Trump, your words and actions are a betrayal of my brothers and sisters in uniform, the American people, and our Constitution. My fellow service members and I, we are not your prostitutes. We are not your pimp. You're not our pimp. God dang, man. And then this is the tweet she put it out on. Then they go on to say here, Breitbart's article here, there are several inaccuracies and problems of Gabbard's assertions. First, it is not clear that President Trump offered command of the U.S. military to Saudi Arabia, which he would never do, and it's hard to imagine him doing so. A more reasonable interpretation of Trump's tweet was simply that he would be consulting with an important American ally about an attack that is suspected to be the work of an American enemy, or at least the work of one of its proxies. Right. I can't remember when the last time. Maybe it was Vietnam. Maybe I would say maybe even Korea, when it was not, the Korean War wasn't necessarily a war. It was a quote unquote police action, but where you might have been under the command of, let's say, this didn't happen, but let's say that when there was a contingent of Colombian infantry soldiers in, I think, Korea at the time, and you might be assigned there, so you would have to take orders from a Colombian, let's say, captain. That would be sort of like, this wouldn't be the case where the president would just say, okay, they're, king of Saudi Arabia, here's, 20,000 troops to do as you wish. That's not going to happen. They're still going to be under control. There's still a status of forces agreement. There is a base, or maybe a couple of bases in Saudi Arabia that were built by the United States in conjunction with Saudi Arabia. There's still a status of forces agreement. So that, I don't know what she's... Second, while the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, its official name is not the Islamist Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, it is officially the Islamic State. It is a stretch to call it an Islamist state. The term Islamist suggests association with terror organizations, which technically you could saddle them in with a terror organization. 19 of the 20 hijackers during 9/11 did come from Saudi Arabia. Coincidence? Don't know. Those of the Saudi government in decades past spread extremist ideas, they're Wahhabists, and supported terror. True. In recent decades, it has assisted the U.S. in fighting terror. Yeah. Partly because the regime is a target of Islamist terror. That's because Osama bin Laden didn't care for the Saudi government, if you will. Third, Gabbard's claim never to have used hateful rhetoric against Trump is not accurate. There you go. In November 2018, she accused him of being Saudi Arabia's bitch. Her words, not mine. In April, she also called him, quote, Al-Qaeda's big brother and protector in Syria, unquote, in a tweet that was highlighted by Iranian state television. God. Yeah, she'll never see a lieutenant colonel, especially after these. And earlier, Tuesday, Gabbard tweeted, Trump awaits instructions from his Saudi masters. Oh, my God. Having our country act as Saudi Arabia's bitch is not America first. Oh, my God. Lady, you're going off the deep end. Fourth, while Gabbard is correct that the Constitution gives the House of Representatives the power to declare war, ding, it does not preclude the president from acting in its own capacity, ding again, as commander-in-chief of the military to protect the country. The War Powers Act, there you go, Tulsi, of 1973 allows the president to initiate military operations that last up to 90 days before he or she, let's hope not, must seek an official authorization from Congress. The law is controversial, but it remains law. Finally, as Gabbard enjoys pointing out, she's an officer in the U.S. Army National Guard. Okay, not Reserve National Guard. Article 88, which is a very good one, of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is the UCMJ, which hopefully every military member understands what the UCMJ is, prohibits commissioned officers from using, quote, contemptuous words, which she had, about the president, whether in uniform or out of uniform. But here's the kicker, though. Gabbard might enjoy some leeway from military court due to political nature of her job, but to say Trump has betrayed the military and to call him a pimp and a bitch is likely a violation of the UCMJ. Gabbard may have earned herself some attention, but she could also earn a court-martial. She's not going to get a court-martial. What will happen is she'll resign her commission, if that's the case. She'll never see a court-martial, never, unless she tries to fight it. But then, even if she might get demoted, and then she'll get put out. But she's still in Congress, and after these words, the people are still going to vote for her. So she's still going to be part of the government, if you will. But again, this just highlights the fact that Democrats just, I don't know. They just seem to be, especially ones out of the military. I've come across a few in my 20 years that you do come across some Democrats, but they sort of keep it on the down low. No, and it's funny, not everyone talks about politics, which is good, especially in the military. But every once in a while, when especially I was in Egypt at the time when President Obama got elected, or he was a president-elect, and people are next morning during physical training with PT. Some soldiers were going, yeah, man, President Trump got elected. Fuck you, motherfuckers. Just like, and me, as at the time I was a sergeant first class, I had to kind of pull this young soldier aside and said, hey, I get it, you're happy, but you need to, cool it a little bit. He understood and sort of, sorry, like, I'm glad you're happy that the person you voted for won. But you need to, cool it, okay? Because, we're still military here. We're all on the same team. It doesn't matter who's president. We still have to obey his directives and his policies, etc. So, there's other people out there that may not have voted for him. They don't really care to hear it. Let's be cool. So, again, she basically... she's losing in the polls, essentially. She's not going to get to any of the debates. And so she thought she'd come out and say some wacky stuff. And she did. And unfortunately, this may have ended her career sooner than later. Like I said, she will not make lieutenant colonel after these statements. Definitely that. Her OER will reflect her comments that she made publicly. So regardless if she's a representative of the House, representative of Hawaii, she's still going to find herself never to touch the lieutenant colonel. So there's that. So again, Tulsi, come on, man. Be cool. Laszlo out.